Hey, it's Sam, and here's Matt. Pull up a chair, let's have a chat. Sobering thoughts, we're peeling it back. Two minds on the mend, truth we can't pretend. Laughs and lessons will blend. Recovery's a ride, no map, no guide. But here we stand, side by side. Sobering thoughts, let's talk it through. Finding the light in what we do. A journey shared, it's me and you. Two minds on the mend, truth we can't pretend. Laughs and lessons will blend. Recovery's a ride, no map, no guide. But here we stand, side by side. Sobering thoughts, let's talk it through. Finding the light in what we do. A journey shared, it's me and you.
Hi, and welcome to Sobering Thoughts of Recovery. I'm Matt,
I'm Sam.
and today we're going to talk about addiction. Now, just as a trigger warning, we will be talking about addiction and drugs and alcohol in this podcast. So please be aware of where you're going to listen to the podcast and who's around you. So, Sam, we're just going to start off with your journey from addiction into recovery. Just tell me how did it start? Where did it start from? And we'll go from there.
Oh my God, where do you want me to start? So, look, this I struggled as a teenager. I suppose as we all do. I struggled who was Sam, and that was one of my downfalls growing up as a kid. I'm one of three girls, and I'm right in the middle. I remember on the weekends I used to, get with my girlfriends. Sometimes we'd have a drink of alcohol, smoking pot. That never really excited me, but I think that was the beginning
So
of
starting young, kind of getting into the motions of experimentation.
that's right. I also was diagnosed with ADHD at age 14.
Right. Okay.
And I had behavioural issues, and mum and dad took me to a psychiatrist who then, after much testing, put me on Ritalin.
Okay.
Whether that was the start of the beginning of my addiction, I'm really unsure, but I started using speed, and speed was quite prominent back on the streets back in the early 2000s. And I injected speed at the age of 17. And I think that's where my beginning in my journey of addiction started.
Right. Right. I mean, it's very much. It seems to be a common story with a lot of people that we interact with as treatment workers at a rehabilitation centre. That it's a progressive lead into what addiction is. It's never something. Look, I live by the rules of no one ever wakes up one day and says, "Hey,
Oh
today,
my God, I'm going to be
yeah,
an addict.
today I'm going to be an addict," or yes, today I'm going to inject, amphetamines. I don't think anyone's ever done that. It's always been an environmental thing, and I feel that that's it's always those people over there do it kind of thing. So tell me more about your life. Now you're 17. You've started to inject amphetamines. What was your usage? Like, are we talking a daily usage? Once, twice a week. How does it really evolve from there?
So it was a weekend thing. So we'd go out on the weekends and we would start, using speed. But I remember that the guy that I was dating, this was a secret. So for me and him, injecting was our secret. So if we had friends over, we would be what they call bombing it. So you'd wrap it up in a tally-ho paper and you'd drink the drug, or was in powder form, would be snorting it.
Yeah, right.
And I think that my addiction sort of started taking every day when I started to become dependent was probably when I was about 24, 25, and I was using quite frequently every day. And if I wasn't using speed, I would be getting into pharmaceutical medications too.
Yeah, okay. And were
Mm.
you functioning at this time? Were you holding down a job? Were you, what was happening in your life at this time?
Yeah, so I do remember working casual for a hotel. I was working in the kitchen. So my job was sort of at night time. So I'd be using then, and probably going to work intoxicated as well.
Yeah.
But no one knew that I was using to that extent. But then, when my addiction started impacting my life wasn't until I was probably late 20s, early 30s. And I remember, back then when the internet was coming out, and I remember Googling, what is an addict? Because either I was in denial or I just wanted to know what the hell an addict was.
Well, it feels like back when I was using, it was more like a subclass. Like if you're an addict, you stole for your hit. You know what I mean? Like you were stealing to support your addiction.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I remember my mum telling me once that a pair of earrings of hers went missing. I got the blame for it, but I never, ever stole from my parents.
Yeah.
I never took those earrings.
Yeah.
And the thing that I probably used to do was pinch some cigarettes from my mum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I never
definitely.
stole from my addiction.
Yeah.
I always found a way to buying the drug. Either, I was in a relationship with a drug dealer, or I knew someone really well. And, of course, my ticker bill was high. What a ticker bill, guys, is when you get your drugs on credit, until you get paid, then you go back, get your drugs, pay your ticker bill or whatever.
Like Afterpay for your drugs. So now we've moved forward. 17, you're probably in your early 20s now. You're in active addiction. Let's move now a couple of years later, and you're starting to realize, hey, look, I need to make a change. So what was that catalyst?
So I fell pregnant at the age of 28, and I gave birth to my beautiful daughter, who is now 23. She was 4 years old. BCJ back in the day,
Yeah.
got involved, and they removed her from my care, and that was a big wake-up call. This was like, oh my God, I brought my daughter into the world. No one's going to look after her except me. And so I remember going to my doctor at the time. He knew that I was using substances, and he said to me, Samantha, you need to go to rehab. And I was like, there is no way I am going to rehab. I am not giving up my house that I had, 2-bedroom house with furniture. I had pets. There's no way. And I said to him, it took me a long time to get this home. I'm not going to give it up to go to rehab. And I remember my doctor saying to me, Samantha, is your daughter living with you? And I said, no. He said, it's not a home then. And I remember those words really clearly. And, it wasn't a big, he wasn't, it was a huge, it had a really huge impact. And I thought to myself, you're right. My home is not a home without my daughter there.
Yeah.
So I went home, I picked up the phone, I called a rehabilitation centre here in Sydney, and I packed my bags and I had a phone assessment, and off I went to rehab.
Yeah.
That was life changing for me. My daughter come back into my care. My daughter come with me to rehab. We built a life together. I was in rehab for 10 months, and after rehab, I went and studied for 4 years.
Yeah. And you graduated from that rehab.
No, I didn't graduate. I
Yeah.
transferred up to another rehab with my daughter
Right.
to, I suppose, have a little bit more freedom, a program that really suited my and my daughter's needs, which is really life changing.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, so I went and studied for 4 years, and I started working in the industry to help other, men and women in my same position.
Yeah.
I'm a drug and alcohol treatment worker. Yes,
That's
that's
right.
right.
That's right. We are both.
So Matt, what was your life changing
Well, my
moment?
introduction into
Yeah.
alcohol and drug. Well, it's a long story. So I think I firmly believe that it's always going to be in the environment how it starts, and for me, it definitely was in the environment. I think I'd left school. It was 1999. I remember it perfectly because I was at the drive-in watching at Blacktown, watching Never Been Kissed and The Phantom Menace.
Showing your age now.
Showing my age now. And what happened was it was two cars. One car was parked next, and it was all the boys. And I was actually in the girls' car. I'd gone with the girls that I was with. One of them was my girlfriend at the time. Anyway, they had told me the guys were smoking cones in the other car. And I'm like, oh, they're smoking cones. I've never done that. And I was being bravado and wanted to be one of the boys. And sat in the back seat, had my first cone, and I don't remember seeing the end of Never Been Kissed, which was the first movie.
Did you enjoy smoking pot? Because I know for me, smoking pot wasn't enjoyable, so that wasn't really my drug of choice.
No, I'm definitely not a downer person. Basically, I passed out straight away and had to be woken up when was driven home. So I think that was more my introduction to the drug scene. Hanging out with these guys more and more, I smoked pot more and more with them and got obviously more used to it. But it was more to fit in.
So the saying is, you are what you hang around.
Exactly. And, that lasted a while. Then we kind of drifted apart and I didn't have much to do with them. And I didn't do any drugs for many years. And then I started working for a company that I was working night shift for from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. around the age of about 19. And that was, doing the night shift and struggling, staying up all night and having all these older gentlemen there and asking them, like, how are you guys able to do this all night? And they said, we're all on speed. And I'm like, what's this speed stuff? And kind of being in that environment, found people that were doing it and started off snorting it.
So can I just for our listeners, so speed is an amphetamine drug that was very prominent, especially around
early 2000s.
Yeah. So after the speed, ice sort of come on the scene, didn't it?
Yeah. So speed was definitely my drug of choice. I started using it with a couple of friends before work. We would be up all night. As I said, if anyone knows the reaction of the speed, alert, you're very much, your blood pressure's up, your heart rate's up, and, it makes you more alert for to work at night. So we were doing that. We were snorting it. We were bombing it, as you said, what you were doing. And then there was...
Can I ask you, what's the longest time that you stayed awake for?
Oh, 8 days.
Yeah.
That came later though. So we basically, this group of friends that we had, we were tight knit and we would use speed at the start of work and then go back to their house after work, smoke cannabis to come down, and then we'd go home and go to sleep. It was always known that in the group of people that were doing this, that there were the ones that were using fits. And by fits, I mean needles, in that kind of niche group they had. And gradually I just drifted towards that group because once again, in the environment, I was curious. Being a very competitive person that I am, I don't think I have an addictive personality, although my mother would say I do.
But
But
then, and that's, a little, that sounds a little bit like I was Googling, am I an addict? Because we never think that we are that.
oh,
Do you
never.
know what I mean?
Never. I mean, at the time, I was, doing it 5 days a week, snorting it or bombing it, and it was a tool for work. It was something that made me a better worker.
Thought that made you,
Well,
made you a better
it thought me a
worker.
better worker, and the proof was in the pudding kind of thing, where it did. I went from we had to pick 1,000 boxes a night. I went from picking 800 on a normal night to 2,280 boxes was the first night when I used a company record, which lasted 3 months. So it was one of those things that really, hey, this has changed my life. Oh my God.
Until it
until
really
it didn't.
changed your
Yeah,
life.
until it really started changing my life. So as I was getting back to the point, I kind of ended up gravitating towards the people that were using needles. And I remember the first time I backed out, it was all ready to go. And I said, no, I don't think I'm ready. And that was actually not amphetamines. That was a stronger version base. And I ended up bombing that. But then I think a few weeks later, I was ready and someone injected me on his garage floor in the morning, about 6:30 in the morning. And I chased that same feeling for almost 2 years. So I end up being predominantly using needles every day, an IV every day, and even on the weekend, even like not working, I was still using. And there's a whole bunch of other stories in that too, from seeing people shoot up with pineapple juice, from almost having a heart attack, or feeling like you're having a heart attack because you think you've had too much. So that's for another podcast. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
sure.
I
So what about your family? Did your family know that you were using drugs?
I think they had their suspicions. You just don't eat when you're on amphetamines. Like I would come home and mum had cooked something and I'd like, oh, I've just eaten, or I'd barely eat anything of it because it just makes you sick.
100%. I remember I went to jail for 3 days in amongst my addiction years, and that's where life took me. And I remember being, I think, about 41 kilos.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
My lowest was about 60, 65, and I'm 6'1". So you can imagine everything was poking out. I couldn't sit on a park bench because my spine would fit in between the grooves of the wood. And so it would actually really hurt. So yeah, it took a lot from me. So moving on to my recovery, basically I got to the point I was using every day. I ended up losing that job. I ended up getting hired full time at that job.
So can I just say that you really weren't really doing a great job? Because I remember you saying back then that this was life-changing for you.
Yeah.
So really the drug really took over your life.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. It took over my life where I was making excuses just to be somewhere else to do the drug. And that's what the biggest problem I think was, that the lies that we tell our family and our friends just to use. So like I think my changing point was I got found out. I remember coming home. I had a partner at the time, and I had to use her father's car at the time because I had no money to fix the brakes on the car that I had. And I went and scored and came back. I had used and come back, and my pupils were as big as doll's eyes. And she noticed straight away and said to me, "Look at your eyes, Matt. Look at them." And she had a massive mirror in her room, and I looked at them. And I'm lying to her and myself, like, they look fine. What are you talking about? And you couldn't even see, it was all pupil.
But the thing is that we think that we're hiding it from our family and friends when we're not.
It's easily. I mean, the amount of times I could say, like, you're aware of how big your eyes are, and then you try and overcompensate by just squinting even more.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're just kind of smoldering at someone, and they're
Mm.
wondering why you're looking like me, like you're, trying to look through a sandstorm. It's crazy, and then we try and overcompensate again,
Mm.
and I mean, we look at the fact that you're trying to hide track marks. I mean, I know myself. I tried to become some kind of special effects makeup artist
Uh,
at
yes.
a foundation at a Big W, looking at all the different foundations, trying to match my skin tone,
Well,
just to
that's
hide
right.
it.
And I do remember that, I'm a summer person, and I love summer and I hate winter.
Mm.
But I remember back in my using days that winter was great because I could cover my track marks.
Jumpers all the time.
Yes.
That's
So
exactly
for our
right.
listeners, Matt's going to explain what track marks are. Some of you might not know what track marks are, and that is.
So track marks are the marks that are left by injecting. So if you inject in the same spot too many times, you will leave a long mark. If you do it very too many times, they'll become purple and very dark in color. You can get abscesses from this and cause a lot of health issues. Luckily enough, I never had these, but there have been plenty of people that I've known that have had them. People can lose their limbs because
Yeah,
of this.
100%.
So yeah, back on into my recovery. So after being busted by my partner and then me being in denial, the next morning I came out and said to her, yes, this is what I'm doing. She did show me support at the time and wanted to get, help me through it. But I knew that if I stayed in Sydney, I'd be dead. So one night she was going out with friends and I had no money to go out because all my money went to drugs. Even though, I'd lost my job at this cold storage warehouse, I actually started working at McDonald's again because it was the only job I could get. But you've got track marks on your arms. So you're basically using the front tool like a Tyrannosaurus Rex with little arms, not trying to show your track marks. Look like a bit of a crab trying to do that.
And I remember that as well. And it's really hard, isn't it? Trying to hide up our drug users. It's quite difficult.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I had a time before moving in with that partner. I had a little granny flat in Seven Hills, and I had obviously a TV, and I had like a little divan kind of thing to lie on, little 2-bedroom granny flat. And I remember being up all night and had read everything I could possibly read, and then started reading the Seven Hills Blacktown white pages back to front, just to have something to read to keep my mind occupied. And then if it wasn't that, I'd pull apart my vacuum cleaner at 2:00 in the morning with a butter knife.
Yeah, and I remember, although we're laughing about it now, but when you look back and think about this, it's very sad, isn't it?
Oh, the cracktivities are real.
Yeah, I remember cleaning my bathroom tiles with a toothbrush.
Oh, for sure, I've been there. I remember doing that in a brand new villa that I'd moved in with a guy that I used with in Glendenning, and we used base together. And I remember us down on the tiles, cleaning the grout with toothbrushes in a brand new villa that so new the oven had not been put in yet.
Yep.
And yet we thought the grout was dirty.
And you're trying to hide your track marks.
Yeah, but that's when you feel the most safest, when you're with your other user friend,
100%.
because you don't have to hide anything.
Yeah.
So getting back to the recovery of me, I knew that I couldn't stay in Sydney. I knew, I still didn't think I was addicted, and still didn't think that I had a problem, that it was something I could take care of. But when I was preparing my drugs, I would shake. I would shake uncontrollably.
Yep. Do you think that's a withdrawal thing, or do you think that was
No.
like anticipation?
That was an anticipation
Yeah.
thing. That was like it was like addiction, Parkinson's.
Yep.
It was the excitement of using.
And I remember doing that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely tough. And so basically, as going back to it, she'd gone out with friends. I couldn't go because I didn't have any money. I packed a bag full of clothes and basically, as much as I could, get into a black plastic bag. And finally, it was the week I'd gotten the brakes in my car fixed and I had a large hole in my radiator, which we'd fix. And I drove down the South Coast where my parents were
Mm.
because I was just that 21-year-old kid who needed parental supervision and
Did your
got down there.
parents know that you were using
No,
drugs?
no. So that story came out. So I'd been clean for about a month and a half, which consisted me of eating Neapolitan ice cream every day from like the 4 liter tub and crying to like the Kleenex ads with the Labrador on them.
Yep.
Every time it came on TV, I was just crying. My hormones were all over the place. It's like, well, what a pretty puppy. So it was really that. And then like mum walking around the corner, me wiping away tears and she's saying, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, nothing. I'm just, sad.
When did your parents find out that you were using drugs?
Yeah, so so I had a month and a half after I stopped. It was Christmas, so it would have been Christmas 2004 or five, and my sister was down the South Coast with us, and we were having Christmas lunch. And my sister and I were kind of bickering back and forth. And my sister actually knew because I'd lived with my sister previously after moving out of the flat, and she basically outed me at Christmas lunch. And I was still healing. I was only like a month and a half in, so my track marks were still very visible but fading, and I had no answer. I stood up, I just walked out, got in my car and left. My father found me the next day, obviously down the South Coast. If you know Sanctuary Point or St George's Basin at all, it's not a very big area. You can find someone if you need to find them. And he found my car and he said, come outside. And he asked me to show me my arms. And I did. And they gave me support. And they asked me if I needed support. And they asked me if I was over it. And I was.
And it sounds like mum and dad were quite supportive of you, because some families aren't so supportive.
Yeah, I think they knew that like I was done. With that, I knew that
But did you think you were done? Because I know that when I felt that I was done at my lowest point, next week I was up using again. Do you know what I mean? Like
I changed my environment.
Yeah, right.
I knew that if I stayed in Sydney, I'd be dead.
Okay.
I used that opportunity when that partner I had at the time went out with the friends. I didn't go. I used that opportunity. Basically, it changed my environment. Get out of there. I knew that if I had stayed, I would have died.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were very supportive. They asked me if I needed help. We talked about it. But a lot of willpower. Changed my friends. Made some new friends, made friends that were not into that scene on the South Coast, which really helped.
But willpower doesn't always have that strength to stop you from using drugs. I know that it didn't stop me. I had to put myself into a residential rehab in order
for sure
to get recovery.
You've got to want to change. Right?
100% you do.
You've got to want to change. I think it's different for everyone, and one size is not going to fit all. For me, I knew I was going to die.
Yep.
I knew that no one was going to stop, and I wasn't going to stop. So that's basically the form of how it all came out about me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't long after that my parents said, "Look, we're going to go from the sea change to the tree change," and they bought a motel out in a little town called Coolah. Shout out to Coolah if you're listening. And the motel there, and I thought, yeah, let's move out to the motel there. And I was only 23 at the time, 22, 23. And, went out there and spent 16 years out there. At the time, I had a partner. At one stage, she said, look, I want to start an education for myself. And I said, I've always wanted to, further my education. So I ended up doing a diploma in counselling. Which took a couple of years. And then when I finally became a counsellor, they said, when I started looking for jobs, they said, oh, what's your speciality? And I said, I'm a generalist counsellor. And they said, oh, no, you need a speciality. So I said, what do I know best but alcohol and other drug?
Yeah, use your life experience.
Use the life experience, definitely, and basically did a diploma in alcohol and other drug.
Yeah. That's amazing, Matt.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so, how many years have you been clean for?
This year,
Or substance free, I should say.
substance free. So I have been substance free this November, 21 years.
Yeah, awesome. Well done.
Yeah. What about yourself?
So, when I went to residential rehab, I did 10-month treatment. I had about 8 years up, and then I had a relapse. And I relapsed for a good 3 to 4 years. Second time around, I have been substance free now for about 6-7 years.
Fantastic.
Mm.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel now being substance free for that long?
Great. I certainly know that I won't, I can never promise that I would never use again because I'm an addict. I just believe that, and everyone has their different beliefs of addiction recovery, that I'm a recovering addict. I've got to be very careful about using anything mood altering. So, yeah, I'm just concentrating on work, helping other people, and
Having fun and laughter. That's what we
having
do.
fun and laughter. Yes.
Yeah. That's the best thing we can look for in recovery is finding the lighter side of it.
Yep, that's right.
Right? Like you talked then about having addiction and recovery and how it's always with us. I totally agree. Like I say to when I do group sessions that my addiction's like a caged lion. It's always behind me. I just don't have access to the cage anymore.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
The key's gone.
Yep.
Right? It's always going to be with me, but I don't have access to it. Right? And I think that's the best way I can explain my addiction. Right? I can talk about it all day and how addiction has shaped my life, and it has shaped my life in the best, most positive ways. If I didn't have that addiction, I wouldn't be where I am now.
That's amazing.
I wouldn't have had the education that I've had. I wouldn't have met some fantastic people like yourself, and have the opportunity to teach others that addiction and recovery
Are possible.
and that life doesn't end at addiction. It starts at recovery.
100%. Thank you so much, Matt, for, letting us know a little bit more about you.
My pleasure. So we're going to wrap this up here. Next week, we're going to start into some more of the educational aspects. We just wanted to really give you a backstory about Sam and I. And next week, we're going to talk about the stages of change model and how that can help you in the start of your recovery. So thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you next time on Spotify.
Bye now.
Hey, it's Sam, and here's Matt. Pull up a chair, let's have a chat. Sobering thoughts, we're peeling it back. Two minds on the mend, truth we can't pretend. Laughs and lessons will blend. Recovery's a ride, no map, no guide. But here we stand, side by side. Sobering thoughts, let's talk it through. Finding the light in what we do. A journey shared, it's me and you. Two minds on the mend, truth we can't pretend. Laughs and lessons will blend. Recovery's a ride, no map, no guide. But here we stand, side by side. Sobering thoughts, let's talk it through. Finding the light in what we do. A journey shared, it's me and you.